And hello. Welcome to episode 243 of the Well Done Life podcast. I'm your host, Pamela Davis Brown. If you are new here, hey, how are you? Welcome. I am so glad that you're here with us this week, and I hope that you will stay for a very long time. If you've been here before, you guys know the deal. I love you deep. Thank you so much for continuing to rock with me and support me. I wouldn't be here without you. And so please, yes, bring friends, and hopefully you guys will continue to stay around and just grow with me. So, before we get started with this week's episode, I want to make sure that I'm really foundational. It's really important to me that we kind of set the stage of what we do here. And so, the Well Done Life podcast and brand is something that I created for women. And so, as a space that I created for women, I treat it like a house, and I want to make sure our foundation is really strong. So, I like to make sure that we have clarity on who we are and what we do. And then we talk about love because that's the main thing. And that's the one thing that we're always going to do here. So, like I said, for clarity's sake, this is a space that I created for women. I believe in the power of women, and I believe in the power of us sharing our stories. There was a season in my life where I found that I needed to hear from other women who may be experiencing things that I was going through at that point in time to kind of pour into me and to help me grow and be the best version of myself. And so I decided, after God helped kind of spare me, help me get through, that I would make it my mission to tell my story. I don't gatekeep my life. I will talk the good, the bad, the ugly of it all and share it with you because I want you to be better than me. I want you to do better than me. I don't think that you have to go through some of the same things that I have been through. And so that's what we do here. I tell my story transparently, but at the same time, I also love to spotlight other women who are in this space, who are doing great things in the community, because again, we need to share our stories. Women's voices need to be heard because when we pour into each other, great things happen. So that's what we do here. So welcome. And I hope that you will be inspired to share your story, because I always like to remind people, you don't know who's looking at you. There is someone who is looking at you and learning from you. And so you owe it to them and you owe it to yourself to share your beautiful journey. So welcome. And then that leads me, like I said, into my second foundation, which is love. Love is the main thing. Everything that we do in this space is going to be rooted in love. And so for me, it's always super important to share prayers with you every week before we dive into any other topics, because God is the foundation of my life. And I truly believe in the power of prayer. And so, especially when it's multiplied, and I know I can't be the only person out here praying prayers. And if I think about it, for the prayers that I've been standing on since 2025, I've been standing on a couple of key pillars. And the first one is peace. It is really important in here, especially now we're just into 2026, that you are having practices in place that are going to help you protect your peace. Life is going to do what it does. Like, there is always going to be something going on. And I don't know about y'all, but I'm at a season of my life where I've really realized now that I I only can do my best. I only can be so many things to so many people. I have to make sure that I prioritize my peace, because I find that when I prioritize my peace, I make better decisions. And as somebody who's made some horrible decisions, I need to make sure that I'm setting myself up for success in all areas. So peace is essential. And so I'm just at this belief that no matter what the noise and chaos of the world is, there is always a pocket of time that you can give to yourself to help you have peace. And I don't care if it's just sitting in your car, because sometimes we all have to sit in our car. I don't know about y'all, but like sometimes I need to have a meal in my car. Sometimes I need to watch videos mindlessly on social media in my car, because that space gives me solitude. It gives me an opportunity to regulate my spirit, my energy. Sometimes, it's just that is my sacred place. And I don't care if it's there in the closet, wherever you need to be. I need you to find a space for your sacred space, that time where you can just pour into you and regulate your mind and your heart, because life is going to do what it does. But I think as believers, we have to realize that with God, we are equipped to handle all things and to face all things. And a lot of times, the things that we try to prevent ourselves from facing, the things that we try to prevent ourselves from doing, are rooted in fear, not in God. It's because we don't believe that we can overcome. We don't believe we can get through this. So we put limits and brakes on, which slow us down in our progress. And that's a whole nother thing to talk about. But essentially, what I'm trying to tell you is, you have to find that space where you surrender. And in peace, it is an opportunity to surrender. It's an opportunity to let the burdens down, to let go of the weights that you may be carrying, to regulate your mind and your body so that you can give yourself an opportunity to breathe and to think and to move because you are equipped to handle all the things that will face you. You really are. You just have to believe that you are. You have to trust who you are in this world and who you are in God. And so that is why I always like to stay rooted in peace. It is essential to everything that we do, and you deserve it. So I pray that you will accept my prayer of peace. Along the line of peace, clarity goes right in line. And I've been standing on clarity for a minute. It is very important that you have clarity in your life. Things, like I said, the world is going to keep doing what it's going to do. Things are going to keep being thrown at you. There is nothing that you can do to change that. But the one thing that you can do is to allow yourself to see things clearly. Don't allow your emotions or your fears, your doubts, your ego, because we all have ego, all of those things to cloud what is in front of you. Allow yourself to see things clearly. Be honest with yourself about, what you're facing or what you need to do so that you are able to move forward righteously. And that's where I always say that peace and clarity go together because, like I said, a lot of times the emotions of things can cloud you from being able to see things as they truly are. But when you are sitting from a space of peace, when you're allowing yourself to be regulated, it is an ability to have clarity. And in clarity is where impartation can happen. Because when you're cluttered, when so many things are coming around you and in your thoughts, it is very hard for you to hear those whispers because God is a whisperer. And you sometimes, but he also can be a loud voice because sometimes I feel like God has to just like pop us in the head and say, I need you to get this. But then in a lot of instances, it's a whisper. And so you have to give yourself those moments of peace. And so you can be clear so that you can allow that impartation to hit you. So I really do pray that you will allow yourself to be able to see things clearly, that you will stand on the ability to be clear, that you will honor yourself with the truth, because that's also another aspect of clarity that a lot of times we don't talk about. We don't honor ourselves with the truth. Again, we have those blinders. We allow our emotions to make us see things as we want them to be rather than what they are. Give yourself the truth. There is power in that. Sometimes there is fear in that because you're not ready to face yourself, but trust that if there are areas of yourself that you need to work on, that you need to get better on, you can do it. You are not limited or stilted. There is never not enough time for you to be the person that you were called to be. You have, as long as you have breath in your body, you have room to grow, to change, to evolve. So allow yourself to see things clearly so that you can discover where you might want to get better, where there are things that you may want to stop doing so that you can live the life that you deserve. So that's why I always like to say peace, clarity, they all align. And then also, I'm also wishing you and praying for you. And I hope you will accept my prayer of clarity for you. But I'm also praying for you to have love. I love to stand on love. I believe in the power of love, and I love reciprocal love. That love where it's like you're giving, that other person is giving, and it's just a back and forth. It's symbiotic in the best possible way. Because I believe in you having love from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet, and I want you to have that good reciprocal love because everybody deserves it. And it's not just on a relationship aspect, of course, relationally, I want you to have good love. You deserve good love. And good love is not heavy. Good love makes you lighter. But at the same time, I also want you to have that kind of love in your friendships, in your family relationships, whatever that might look like. You have to understand everybody's going through something. So you have to be in a position where you are pouring into others the way that they are pouring into you. I want you to have that good reciprocal love. Stand in it because it's going to help you in those moments where the world is super noisy and it is very difficult for you to see things as they are. Those people are the mirrors that come in your life, those good, strong, reciprocal, loving people, your community, your tribe, your clique, your people, your crew. They're the ones that will help you see things as they truly are. See yourself in ways that maybe you just unfortunately might not be able to see yourself so that you can be the best version of you that you can. Because sometimes, again, we get so caught up in what we're going through that we allow the weights of what we're going through to shift our perception of ourselves and hold ourselves back. And your community, your tribe can be the ones to help lift that weight off of you, to help show you who you truly are so you can step into the fullness of who you are. So hopefully, again, you will accept my prayer of love for you. And then rounding out my prayers this week is abundance. I like to stand on the power of abundance. And I do want you to be financially abundant. I do. I want you to have more than enough to be able to take care of yourself and your family, to be able to pour in your community and do amazing things in the world. Because I'm a firm believer in we are the change that we are looking for. There's no one that's going to come save us but us. So I want to make sure that you are in a position. I pray that you're in a position where you can be that light that you need for yourself, for your family, for your community. But I also like to remember or highlight the need to be abundant in your spirit. Because a lot of times, I mean, we live in a very capitalistic society. It is very money driven. I mean, good Lord, I can spend $200 in 20 seconds now in the way that the world is. But at the same time, I want you to value the moments that feel like thousands of dollars, millions of dollars. The moments, the memories that we're creating with our friends, with our family, our clique, our tribe, our crew, our people, the ones that we really, really love. I want you to value those times because that stuff is intangible, baby. It is when you're abundant in your spirit, when that happiness is just living within, that's what's going to help propel you through those rough times. Is there's never going to be enough money for everything that you will probably desire in life, and there's never going to be, when you trace riches, it's like you're putting yourself in a position to constantly try to run after something because you can't attain it, versus understanding that when you are abundant in your spirit, you are attracting wealth. Wealth comes to you naturally because you are wealthy, not just in your pockets, but in your heart, in your soul. So that's just kind of like a way of shifting the perceptions around wealth and around money. Don't chase it, because if you got to continuously chase it, that means that's something that you can attain. That's something that you always have to run after. You shouldn't have to run after wealth. Wealth is within you, and then it will come out of you and be manifested in the physical, in the way, and the tangible that you can expound and give others. So you just need to, think about how you look at the amount of wealth that you want, or the abundance that you're looking for. Think of how you shift it. Focus on growing abundantly in your spirit and in your soul, so that you can attract the desires of your heart. So those, and again, I hope you will accept my prayer of abundance for you. So those are my prayers for you this week. I am really excited to be recording again. I can't believe I'm back. It's kind of crazy. Saturday, I'm recording on Saturday, January the 10th at 2:19 p.m. And yes, I'm trying something different. I am trying to actually record and include visuals. So yes, if you are listening to the pod on Apple Music, you can totally stay there. But if you would like a new experience and to actually see what I look like when I record, feel free to go to my YouTube channel, and I will have the visuals uploaded. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and preface this straight out. Like, look, I am not a video editor. I am using my MacBook and making it work and sing. And so don't get salty in the comments. Don't waste your time. Just, be encouraging and positive, and we'll see if this is going to grow. That's pretty much what I'm going to say. So that's it. But yeah, so now you have options. I like to give options. This is a whole new year. So I said we got to do some whole new things. So we're doing some whole new things. So thank you. Like I said, it has been a minute since I've been here, and it feels really good to be back. I know last time I was here, I gave you guys my year end podcast. And really, the year end was just talking about how 2025 kind of broke me open in the best ways, and how I shared with you a lot of the things that I left behind in 2025, and this new level of life that I'm stepping into in 2026. So yes, in 2025, I got married. And now I am Pamela Davis Brown, and I'm a wife on top of the other things that I'm doing. And so I'm stepping into this new era. And it's really different because I'll be honest, being married in your 50s for the first time is probably a lot different than what it would be like being married, younger. I don't know. And now that as I'm saying it, I'm like, I don't even know if that's really, really the case, but it's a little, to me, it feels different. I guess because it's like we have less summers ahead of us than anybody else. And so it's just a different perspective. And I just have to say, I want to thank everybody for all their support, on the episode, as well as when my husband and I shared some of our wedding photos at the end of the year, just to like kind of come into this new season together out. And so I've just really, truly appreciated everyone's support. But so, yes, y'all, I'm married. Don't laugh. No, I do not have my ring on. I totally ran out of the house today and forgot to put it on. So you're looking at that hand and you're like, she's not. No, I know I am. I just don't have it on. And so if my husband's watching this, baby, it just charge it to my mind, not my heart. You always are right there. And I'm gonna get better at that. But anywho, I digress. This week though, I want to take some time to kind of start talking to you guys about something that I was inspired by. I had recently seen a post, and in the post, it was a very reflective post talking about growth and about how there is grief in growth. And I really was inspired by it, and so I really wanted to talk about it because as I have been on a journey for a few years of growth and elevation, I really felt like, you know what, they're right. Like there is a lot that we talk about growth. We celebrate boundaries, we applaud choosing yourself. But one of the things that we don't talk about a lot is the grief behind those choices. And when I say the grief behind it, I'm talking about the grief that comes from realizing that there were many years where you stayed quiet when you shouldn't have. There were many years of, understanding and normalization of poor behavior when you shouldn't have made those decisions. I'm talking about the grief of outgrowing people, because as we all evolve and change, outgrowing people and patterns and versions of yourself that actually at one point kept you safe but now keep you limited, and you realize that and made choices to help move past it. And so I want to kind of tee this up because I feel like this is a series, and I'm really excited actually about this series because, again, like I said, I think when we talk about growth, we talk about it so much from, the boundaries and all these things, but we have to talk about the feelings that you experience on it. If you think about it, it's kind of like the stages of grief when you are choosing yourself because it just feels so good. And then you start to encounter people and situations that don't honor the choices that you have made now. And no one has really ever had the conversation about what does it feel like actually grieving that and going through the pain of it. And so I kind of, like I said, I think I'm building a series, and I want to talk to you in regards to grief, but I want to make sure I tee it up one thing first before we get into this. I want to make sure that you understand that this episode is not about regret. It's never going to be about regret because there is never anything to regret in choosing yourself. But this is about talking about the compassion that it takes for you to choose yourself and for you to be who you were called to be, and about how much power of clarity it is in realizing that you don't ever have to be that same person that you were before. Because like I told you guys, when I for myself, when I closed out 2025 and have stepped into this new season of life, I realized that this level of change, this level of growth that I was experiencing didn't just bring freedom. It brought grief. And so today I kind of wanted to take time to sit with that without judgment, without using or any kind of words to fix it or rush to fix it. I just want to sit and let it breathe. And so I want you to take a time to sit with me and let's talk about it a little. All right. So let's dive in. So kind of what I want to start it with is recapping some of the things that I left behind. Because I think as I've been a part of this journey, as I realize this whole new level of life, and as you may be on the same journey with me, where you're realizing that you needed to be something different in this space, you had to leave some things behind. And so for myself, last year, I left behind silence as peacekeeping because there were many moments where I held my tongue, about a lot of stuff just to keep the peace. I mean, that had actually started to become a survival tactic for me, as well as over accommodating other people's needs at the detriment of myself. Recognizing that trying to always be liked, trying always to be everything to everybody and being absolutely nothing to me. I'm done with that. And then delaying decisions. And I talked a lot about delaying decisions because it is critical that we all get to a point in our lives where we realize that we don't have to delay moving forward based upon the fears that we may be having or based upon trying to make somebody else feel good about something. Like when we do that, all it does is cost us more time, more energy, more money, especially when you're talking about your finances. And I highlighted that actually in last year's my year-end recap episode, because for me that was one of the main things I discovered. When I don't face debt or some type of issue head on, it just, I kick the can down the road, because that has previously been my behavior. I'm just going to keep it honest. I mean, I have been that chick. Let me just keep kicking a can down the road. I'm going to get to it. I'm going to get to it. I can control it, versus recognizing that by me even making that decision, I'm allowing it to control me, because kicking something down the road only creates interest. It only creates more dust. It only creates more momentum. And then till it builds and builds and builds and becomes something that is massive. And then you wind up having to spend more time and energy trying to deal with it versus just standing with it and dealing with it head on. I mean, I'm not going to pretend. I'm very candid. I told you guys several years ago, I had filed bankruptcy because I kept kicking stuff down the road until one day it snowballed and it became too big. And I had to make that decision in order to be able to get it to a point where it was bite-sized enough where I could try to fix it. And from that, I have learned I cannot kick things down the road. And again, like I said, I'm not just telling you that just to tell you that so that you can feel sympathy for me or anything like that, but I'm telling you that so you can understand that you can make better decisions. When you are faced with tough situations, financially, professionally, romantically, whatever, kicking the can down the road is only going to create more momentum for something to snowball into something bigger that you're just going to have to face. Sometimes you have to face things head on. Going back to even what I was talking to you about in our prayer, we have to understand God, who we are in Christ. Christ equipped us. God equipped us to be able to handle tough times. There is nothing too big for God. There is nothing that we are going through that God hasn't already seen before. So why are we trying to kick stuff down the road when God already knows what the end is before we did? Like he already has seen it. And so if he's already seen it, he knows that you're going to need help. He knows that you're going to be able to get through it. And he's here to help get you through. So you have to trust him. And you have to trust yourself. And you have to trust him when you can't even see the end sometimes. And it's very hard to do it when you're in the situation. That's where you have to take a moment to breathe, a moment to be clear, a moment to pray. And when all of that is said and done, a moment to move forward, because again, you're equipped to handle it. And so again, I know I'm really passionate about delaying decisions, but it's just because, like I said, I've made some really crazy mistakes, and I have spent more money, more time, more energy, more tears, more stress, more physical issues than I should have allowed. Because again, I even related back to my health, delaying truly getting healthy, truly getting focused the way that I needed to. I got focused last year and I'm focused now, baby. Holla at me, baby. I'm ready, baby. But I just think about sometimes, again, you could only meet people where they are. Why was I putting it off when I could have been on it sooner? But I will say one caveat to that is sometimes things can't move forward until you're truly ready to move forward. And a lot of times God loves us so much that he won't give us something and he till he knows that we're ready to actually act on it. Sometimes we'll get stuff and God will let us, get in the way and delay and then he'll bring it back. But then there are some things I really truly feel like God will say, "You know what? I need to take it out your hand. I need to help encourage you. I need to push this in front of you because this is what I need you to do." And it just comes to you with a resolve and a clarity that this is what you need to do, and you do it, and everything just starts to line up because God's like, I know that I got to make sure that I keep this person engaged, focused, and ready until my will be done. Because my will is going to be done, but you not going, because we have free will, you can drag it out. And sometimes you're dragging it out, I feel like gets on God's nerves. And God's like, nah, 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 let me get involved. And he's just like, boop, 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 boop. And you get so engaged, you start to see the results and you love it and you fall in love with it. And then you're focused and here you're ready. And I know that probably sounded like crazy, but I truly do believe that. I do believe one, God has an extremely great sense of humor. I think God just is extremely patient. And God just sometimes says, I just need to take care of y'all. I just need to handle it. And I truly think about that because I'll be honest, I always tell my husband, I said, I think that's what God did in our case. God said, I have to get involved with these two because y'all had chances. And that's another story. But I'm just going to tell you, when God wants to bring something to pass, there is nothing that will get in the way of it. And that's what I'm going to leave that there. And then my final thing that I left is making myself easier to love. I left that behind in 2025. When I say making myself easier to love, it was just there was a season of my life where I didn't love me enough, where I allowed myself to lose out on remembering that I was the prize. And when I say that, it's not that, I entertained conversations and relationships with people that truly were never going to be what I needed. And they never went anywhere, but I wasted so much time trying to make myself available to them. And when I say make myself available, you know what I'm talking about. As women, many of us have tried to, make sure we're visible, make sure we're seen. We're always looking good. We're always a nice person. We're always the one doing everything under the sun, to just be seen because we want that person to see us because we feel like if they see us, they're going to love us. And that doesn't necessarily also apply to only just personal relationships, romantic relationships. And a lot of times that's what happens on jobs and when families, you want that attention, you want to be loved, that desire to make certain people love you and see you so much that you will manipulate yourself and put yourself in different spaces and places so that you can be seen, in air quotes, for other people to choose you because you have that, I hate to say it, you have that pick me spirit. I don't really get into all these like catchy, phrasy words, but sometimes that's what it is. You are looking for validation in other people versus seeking out that validation in yourself and recognizing that when people truly see you, the ones who are supposed to see you and love you, that's your people. Those are your tribes. You are not made to be out here to have to make people see you. That is not your job to make people love you. And so don't put yourself in those paces and spaces anymore. Allow yourself to be who you are called to be, who you were born to be. And so I had to stop doing that. And I have let that go. And I'm very grateful. And so I'm sharing that because again, I think about it as it relates to love because, love has definitely been on my mind. It is so important to recognize that the person who will truly love you the way that you deserve to be loved, they see you. There is nothing extra that you need to do. You just need to be who you were born to be, your best version of you, who you are. And when I say your best version of you, I'm not talking about it just because it looks all shiny and new. Best. I'm talking about you, the person who is goofy and quirky and funny and angry and pissed off and all those things. Because I can tell you, my husband has seen every side of me and he loves me for me. I've seen every side of my husband and I love him for him. That's what I'm talking about. You don't have to, that pick me thing doesn't exist when they're your tribe, your people, your love, your love. Your love doesn't need all of that. So those are the things that I left behind. And one thing I just kind of want to anchor as we're talking, because we're going to shift now and start talking about the grief of those things, is I wasn't wrong for who I was back then. And you're not wrong for who you are right now or who you were as someone who may be in this transitional point of healing as well. You weren't. You just were surviving with the tools that you had. That's all. It's really that cut and dry. Yep. You were just surviving. And a lot of us have spent a lot of time just trying to survive. So why don't we spend some time trying to thrive, you know? So let's kind of start now diving into the grief of it all. And when I say the grief of it all, I really want to talk about, again, the lost time. That's what it is. Because if you think about it, it's like you start to sit in these moments of life where, again, you start to grieve the fact that if I had this strength, and maybe it's just me, the strength to choose myself sooner, to let go of some of these things before, what would my life be like now? Or thinking about the relationships that only worked when you were smaller. Because, like I told you, when as a part of my journey, as a part of my healing, I had to, let go of small-minded relationships where I wasn't the most full actualized version of myself because I was in that pick me kind of side. And I'm not just talking about from a romantic standpoint. I'm talking about also even from a friendship standpoint. I've had some friendships that were where I had to operate on a lesser level because they weren't comfortable within themselves in order to make those friendships work. And even though you know that you're making yourself smaller, it's still hard to realize that I had to dumb down who I was. I had to be less than who I am to make you feel good. And I tolerated that. You know, I think about that sometimes. I have, especially in friendships, not necessarily in relationships, but in friendships, I have, because you want to make somebody else feel good versus yourself just because they might be struggling financially or just struggling in their career or their personality, their relationship, and you just try to hide things and keep things aside because you try not to offend anybody. You are putting yourself limits on you because of somebody else's tragedy. And that is not your weight to bear. That's not your weight to bear. And let's talk about how much you've carried quietly, because all of that takes a lot of work. All of that takes a lot of effort and hiding who you are and being something that you're not, and just grieving the time and all of it, and how heavy it must have felt for you to do that. Because I know for me, it felt heavy. I wasn't as light as I am now. I wasn't as happy as I am now. Because again, I was putting myself in a position where it was like, I'm trying to be everything to everybody and robbing myself. And I was pissed. I was pissed when I figured it out. And so again, I think all of those things we have to realize are things that we will get upset about, that we will be angry at ourselves about. And that's okay, because to recognize that and to feel that is not a punishment. It's not an indictment, because remember, like I told you earlier, we were just surviving with the tools that we had. But to feel this sadness, to feel this pain, to feel this frustration is a sign that we finally woke up. a sign that we recognize that this doesn't serve us anymore and it's time to make some adjustments. Yeah, it's time to make some adjustments because it's a sign that we're still here. If you were still in a space where you're feeling comfortable, where you can still accept that level of life and in mediocrity, then you're not maybe ready to move forward. But the fact that you can grieve it, the fact that you can feel a way about it, that it unsettles you a little bit, shows that you finally have woken up and recognized that you never should have been in that space in the beginning and that you deserve more and that you're ready for more and you deserve more. So go get more. I'm going to get more. We're going to get more. And so kind of even leaning into that a little more, like I said, because now you've recognized that you're awake. Now you have feeling what you feel and you're not really happy about the feeling. It's kind of like, what are you going to do? You know what I mean? Like it sucks. And so now we're here and we're ready for something different. And so it's like, okay, what are we going to do? Now we have this anger because we're pissed about it. And so it's okay to be pissed because again, when you've woken up, and you realize this is how you feel, you have to acknowledge it. You have to talk yourself through why did I let it slide kind of moments, because there's going to be plenty of them. Why did I settle for that? And I think a lot of times we settle for that because again, it was about needing that validation. It was about not being confident in the people that we were and that we are. And I know for myself, that was a really big realization that I wasn't allowing myself to fully be the confident woman that I am, that I wasn't owning me, and I wasn't recognizing that in my ownership, I don't have to put up with this. If they like me, great. If they don't, okay, that's great too. We can still rock with it. And the fact that I'm angry, like I said, the fact that I'm awake now, it doesn't mean I was wrong or healing wrong. It just meant that I was finally learning to listen to me, because there's always so many talking heads, myself included. I'm sitting here talking to y'all about it now. But the fact is that you have to get to this point where it's like, I can hear all these talking heads, but I got to believe it. I have to hear it. You have to, I hate to say it or in this way, but I can't think of another way to say it. You got to get high on your own supply. You got to recognize that you have everything that you need to move forward, that you can be frustrated, that you can be awake, you could be angry about this, and recognize that you should have never put yourself in that position and that you will never do it again, because you are who you are. You deserve good treatment. You deserve the best. So why would you allow yourself to be in a position ever again where you get less than? This is your opportunity now to shift. This is your opportunity to move forward. And so for me, in my new season of life, I have to, especially now at this level of life where I've added a husband into the mix, and I'm old. I mean, I'm not trying to say I'm like super old, but I'm older. As someone who's about to be 53, like I said, I have more summers behind me than I have in front of me. I had to recognize that at this new level of life that I am entering into, I can't carry that anymore. I can be angry about what I wasn't back then, but I definitely have to leave all of that behind to enter into this new season fully, because I want to savor my marriage. Ooh, yes, I want to savor my marriage. I want to savor this beautiful new life that I'm building with my husband, my partner. And on top of building this beautiful new life with my husband and my partner, I also have a family and friends that I really love. And like I said, I have more summers behind me than I have in front of me. And so I have to forgive me for the times when I didn't honor me. And I have to stand firm in who I am and how I expect to be now as a wife, as a friend, as a sister, as a daughter, as a woman. Because if I don't choose me now, when am I going to choose me? And I think that is the point that a lot of us have to get to. It's like if you're not, if you weren't going to choose yourself then, okay, but looking at probably where you are in life and what's in front of you, if you don't choose yourself now, when are you going to choose it? It's like it is. It's like rubber has met the road. Like this is the time. And so for me, like I said, it's about savoring the moments. It's about enjoying my life, my marriage, and this new level of maturity. I'm not 53 yet. I'll be 53 next month. But I have to tell you, going into 2026, I feel such a level of maturity and peace now that I haven't felt like this in a long time. And I'm not going to pretend. I know I'm still like in a world of chaos, but at the same time, I still feel settled in my soul with it. Like it is well within me. And I feel like no matter what happens, I'm going to be okay because I know that God is with me. And that discernment, that level of comfort, that level of peace that I'm having now, I wouldn't trade it for anything. And so I invite you to think about, what you will do to let go of the grief, to let go of the anger, to let go of the feelings of choosing you and what it's cost you, because the cost is high. I'm not going to pretend. I always say that. Choosing yourself is not easy. It is hard, and it has a very high cost because not everybody can go with you when you choose yourself. Not every place, situation that you have lived in or that you are living in now can continue when you choose you. But at the same time, the reward, the peace, the boundaries, the discernment that you are being given by choosing you, it is worth tenfold everything that you will leave behind. And but it costs. And are you willing to pay the cost? Are you willing to go through? Are you willing to truly heal yourself in order to be the best version of you? Because you can't control other people, but you can control you. And so for me, going into this year, I'm choosing me. I'm choosing me. I'm choosing me, and I'm letting them. Shout out to my husband because he always loves the Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. Um, Letting them be. I can't save everybody. I can't be available to everybody. I can't do everything, but I can be me. And you and love me and care for me and care for others as I have the capacity to. Um, and that's it. I'm not putting any extra limits, boundaries, or everything on it. I'm just gonna let it be. So I'm gonna let them be. And so, kind of wrapping up, I have a few questions that I kind of outlined. Not anything to say, but more so some questions for you as you are reflecting and thinking about everything that I've talked about in this episode. I want you to think about these. So, what have you outgrown that you're still grieving? Where did you confuse being loving with being silent? And what would it look like to thank your past self and still move forward? Growth doesn't always feel like relief. Sometimes it feels like grief, and both can be holy. Yeah, both can be holy. So that's the episode this week. I hope that I gave you lots to think about because that's really what I want to do. I can't fix you, but I can encourage you and inspire you and hopefully support you on this next journey that you're in. I know that we're all in different places, spaces, and phases of life, but I do want to tell you from the bottom of my heart, I want you to find your happy. I want you to find your peace, your clarity, your abundance, and your love, because you deserve that on all levels. So thank you guys for joining me this week. I will be back next week with a brand new episode. And like I said, I feel like I'm kind of teeing this up as a series. So we're going to make this probably episode one. We'll see how it continues to fly. And definitely, I'll have all my information in the show notes. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I love talking to you guys. Let me know how you like this new format. This is the first time trying it out. So I'm not afraid. Well, slightly afraid, but not afraid. I'm just kidding to do it. But you know what? I'm going to do it scared. And it's going to be what it's going to be. But I want to thank you. Please take care of yourselves and each other. I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.